Hey bookies, let's talk January reads. All right, so January, we had 8 books completed, finished, which is pretty good for me. So we started off with One Dark Window, which I listened to, and it was fine. I gave it a 3-star read, and I think I would have liked it more if I was a fantasy girly, which I'm really not. I know a lot of people liked the magic system, that it was unique. Um, but I will say it kept me intrigued enough that I put a hold on the sequel. And so I am currently working on that. I don't know. I think the book just kind of confused me a little bit. I don't know, that I wasn't super invested. But yeah, I mean, 3 stars, that's a perfectly fine rating. Let's see. After that, Anna O. Oh, what can I say about Anna O? I really like this book. It was a fun whodunit, kind of a lot of psychological things. So it is about a woman who people think she killed her friends. This was at the beginning of the month, so it's a little iffy at this point. And then she went into basically like a coma. I can't think of what it was called. Regression syndrome or something. Editing Aaron here, and I looked it up. It's resignation syndrome. And the Swedish term for this unrecognized psychological condition is Uppgivenheit syndrome. I am 100% mispronouncing that, but I love that. Given up syndrome. I love that. Okay, continue, Aaron. Where basically she goes to sleep for a long time. They didn't call it a coma, but it was specifically sleep. So, and I guess I meant to look if this was a real thing, but they said in the book that like children living in refugee camps had this mental disorder or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a psychologist. But this woman who people believe that she killed her friends, they think she got off murder because she went into this deep sleep for like 4 years. And so it's kind of about her getting her to wake up. Is she actually asleep or is she faking it? And it's a lot of fun. And then there's a fun twist at the end that I really like. So I really liked Anna O, and I would recommend that, especially if you like psychological things and stuff that kind of keeps you on your toes. So that was a 4-star read for me. The next one that I read, All the Dark Places. I didn't like this book. I gave it 2 stars. And mainly because I thought the main character, Molly, was just, I think she was just such a victim. And I know she had, you know, her husband died or was murdered, and she had trauma from from her childhood. Like, I get that, but I really didn't like that. And one of the things that really, really bothered me was the representation of an emotional support animal, which is highly inaccurate. And to me, it was almost... So my background, I have a background of training dogs. I was a foster mom for a seeing eye dog in training. So before he was a year old, somebody needed to teach him basic obedience. I did that. So I have a background in training dogs. And one of my biggest pet peeves ever is when people pass off their average pet for a service animal. These animals are highly trained. They are expensive. And people, when they do that, when they are just taking Lucy to the grocery store with a vest they got off Amazon. They do not realize the risk that they are putting toward actual service animals. I got a little off topic there. And I think that the author, and I'm not saying anything bad about her, but I think she doesn't understand the difference between a service animal, an emotional support animal, and what goes into training, particularly a service dog, and then also an emotional support dog. The character went to the pound and got a dog. And she's like, this is my emotional support animal. Took it everywhere with her. And this dog was immediately attached to her hip and offered her all this comfort and, you know, knew where to go when the character got lost. Like, that's not how it works. It's just not how it works. And so just these kind of blurred lines. Oh, she was also taking the emotional support animal into stores and stuff like that. You're not really supposed to be doing that. So like this woman who was an insane victim, in my personal opinion, and who was also blurring the lines of service animals and emotional support animals in a highly inaccurate way, I couldn't do it. I almost DNF'd it. The ending, I will say, was a little bit redemptive. Is that the word I'm looking for? So I'm glad I didn't DNF it for that reason alone. Phaedra. This was the only book that I had a physical copy of, and it is now back at the library. Support your libraries. And it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I wish I had known more of the story of Phaedra. I think that would have made it a little bit more enjoyable. But I really wanted to know more about the Minotaur. Because, like, the author just kind of glanced over that. Wasn't a huge fan. But that's really all I have to say about that. That was probably, like, reader error. Because like I said, I think I would have been more enjoyable had I known the story. I was going into it blind. The next one, Two Dead Wives. I love this book. I really did. 4 stars for me. It was intriguing, and I wanted to see how there were dual point of views, and I wanted to see how, like, they were going to be woven together. And it was a little bit, I caught on quicker than the characters did, but there was still some twists in there. So I do appreciate that. And I think what I really appreciate about this book is it is actually a sequel. I did not know that till the very end when there was an author's note that was read. And, you know, she mentioned she wanted to create a standalone book. And, I mean, bravo. I had no idea. You know, sometimes, like, you read a sequel, or books out of order, and you're like, wait, what? Or even you read a standalone book and you kind of get that feeling of, wait, what's going on? Like, what am I... Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're like, should I know these characters already? I never felt that in this book, which I should have known. You know, this was a sequel. That would have been a perfectly acceptable feeling to have. So, I mean, bravo, Adele Parks, I think her name is. Like, fantastic. Chef's kiss. Really like that book. And then, so from that culinary masterpiece, we go to Icebreaker. I know a lot of people like this book. I DNF'd it. I couldn't do it. I quit reading about halfway through. And so there's like 50 chapters in this book. I quit about 20. And I want to say I was looking at how long the book was by like chapter 5. I couldn't do it. And mainly because I couldn't stand Anastasia. I could not stand her. I think she was whiny. I feel like this is making me come off as like anti-woman or whatever. Because I didn't like Molly, I don't like Anastasia, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. I didn't like Anastasia. She was the stereotypical, oh, I'm a poor girl in a rich person's sport. Whatever. Have a little bit more creativity. And then also, one of the things that irked me was she has these dreams of being an Olympic figure skater. Go for it. Do it. I love figure skating. You can do it. She goes and gets trashed every weekend. Part of the whole, her whole personality is like her planner. And she's like, I'm so busy. She goes and gets trashed every weekend. Okay, how about you don't do that? You're also in school, you're also working, and you want to be an Olympic athlete. How about you don't do that? And then, like, a whole other part of her personality was, I need to be so tiny, or I'm so tiny, I need to be tinier, blah, 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 blah. It is canon that she is 5'4". That is the perfectly average height for a woman in the U.S. of her age. Perfectly average. You are not that small. I'm 5'2". I don't even think I'm that small. So the author could if she wanted this to be a major part of her character's personality, to be so tiny, make her 4'9". Make her actually small. She is also in a sport where being tiny is a good thing. Okay? Like, pairs figure skating, you're doing the lifts and the throws, and you want to be small for that. If the author wanted this to be a major part of her character, put her in the NBA or something, or college basketball or volleyball, where being tall is an ideal. And it just made me so mad. I'm so tiny. I can't eat all these calories because Aaron thinks I'm fat. Goes and has 400 empty calories in beer. It's like, ugh. But and then also like the whole, this is just ick for me. I'm so tiny, I don't know where to put Nate's because it's so big. I hate that. It's just, I know we've all seen like the TikToks or whatever of with the measuring tape, where are you gonna put 7 inches or whatever. Okay, I agree with that. But also, again, 5'4" is not that small. Okay, so yeah, I DNF that. And, I'm sorry if you like that book. I think this was a case of smut taking precedence over character and plot and... Okay, I'm done. I got a little... Isn't it a good thing I didn't finish it? I think my blood pressure... I would have had to start taking my blood pressure medicine again. So the next couple books were perfectly fine as well. Love, Me. Not Love Me, Love, Me. I like this book. It was a quick read. I listened to it in a day just while I was, cleaning up the house and whatnot. And it was a cute book. I found it relatable. Take with that as you want. And I think it kind of speaks to the power of our first great love. The people that we can't necessarily leave behind, or we wonder what could have been. So I liked it. That was a 4-star read for me. The other 4-star read and final book for the month was Dowry of Blood. Again, this is a quick book. I read it or listened to it in a day. I don't think I would have liked it much if it was any longer. And I'm kind of almost wondering if I should knock it down to 3 stars. Because I'm kind of asking myself right now, like, what was the point of it? And I can't come up with one. So I might have to knock that down to 3 stars. But it was perfectly fine. If you like vampire stuff, go for it. It was nothing original. I think I'm going to have to knock it down to 3 stars. But like, it was a quick read. It was enjoyable. So, have at it. But let's see. So that was January. Do we want to talk February a little bit? What's on my TBR? Well, I did start Iron Flame. I have had it since, I think, the end of the year, end of 2023. And I've just been really nervous about starting it because I've heard, I think I was letting some like book talk reviews get to me, and I loved Fourth Wing. And if it was like, I wanted to end the series on a high. If I wasn't going to like Iron Flame because it was poorly written, it was rushed to publication, whatever reason it is. And so I was scared to start it. But I did finally get it started. And I am enjoying it so far. I'm planning on joining a discussion for Lovely War, so I'll read that. Later on in the month, I want to read Powerless and probably The 7-Year Slip. And then whatever else catches my eye. Well, thank you for joining me on my January reading wrap-up, my bookies. And I will see you after we're done with February.